Hey guys, it's Wasteland Sniper. I wasn't actually gonna make a video, but I read the article for Echo that just came out this morning. And I'm gonna admit, I've been pretty salty about the fact that there's no Punisher in the Defenders wave, and that they kind of replaced him with a character that isn't very well known. Like, not many people know about Echo, and from what I understand, I don't have Disney Plus, but I've heard that the Echo show is terrible. Like, it's pretty bad. So I wasn't super excited about Echo as a character. Um, but if you know me, you know that I'm a big fan of mechanics. Even if I don't particularly care for the character, or I have no idea who the character is, or don't really have any connection to the character, if the mechanics grab me, I don't care. I will play that hero. Silk is one of those. It took me a while to come around and actually try Silk, but once I did, I have actually really enjoyed Silk, even though I honestly don't really know who she is as a character. Venom was probably one of the first ones that really grabbed me. I didn't care about him as a character at all, but once I kind of saw what he was doing, even though he is very straightforward, I really enjoyed how his kit works together and just the things that he does. So um, I'm having kind of the same thing with Echo here, just based off of this article. So let's get into this article and kind of see what it is about Echo that has me so excited about her as um, as a new hero for Marvel Champions, because I think she looks really awesome. She looks like she's going to be a lot of fun. She's definitely got kind of a unique thing going on. There's only one other hero in the game that I know of that shares the fact that once we look through the article and go through the card numbers, you'll see there's no way that she has any attack, thwart, or defense events in her kit at all. None whatsoever. The only other hero that does that is Maria Hill. And the way that they work without, any attacks or thwarting or even defense is, from what I can tell based on this article, very different. Um, they've managed to take these two heroes that have this very similar thing of not having access to any of those types of events in their kits and make them work in completely different way, as far as I can tell. So let's get into this article and see what it is about Echo that has me so excited. Um, I don't know if I should just read the article. I'm sure you guys will have watched a bunch of videos with people reading the article, but I've already actually read through the article. I did that today at work. Yes. Yeah, I found some time to sneak away and read the article while I was at work. But yeah, we'll go through this really quick. So, yeah, I guess I'll just read through the article. Just a few weeks ago, we provided a first look at Fear No Evil, the latest campaign expansion for Marvel Champions, the card game. Today, we're taking a look at the first two new heroes included in that expansion. The martial artist with photographic reflexes, Echo. Read on to learn about her playstyle and how she can copy events for a level of versatility that is entirely her own. And here we see alter ego and hero Echo. Born deaf and raised by Kingpin after she was orphaned as a little girl, Maya Lopez has the extraordinary ability to perfectly duplicate any physical movement or action she sees. This lets her record the actions of other highly skilled individuals so she can use their abilities at the right time as Echo, which is represented by her innate ability, Watch and Learn. So let's check these cards out. She's got a 3 recovery. Practice makes perfect. Interrupt: when you change to hero form, search your deck for an aspect or basic event and add it to your hand. So already we can tell her hero cards are not going to be the focus of her deck, which in itself is very weird. Most heroes, you're looking for their cards. I think with Colossus, when you flip down to Alter Ego, you get to shuffle a Colossus card into your deck. And I know with other heroes, you're basically looking for their specific hero cards, but with her, you're looking for either aspect or basic event to add to your hand. So that should already kind of give you an idea of where they're going with her deck. Now, Echo, on the hero side, has 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense. She's a defender and a martial artist. Okay. And she's got the Watch and Learn ability. Response: after a player plays an aspect or basic event, tuck that event under here from that player's discard pile. Then, if there are more than 3 tucked cards here, discard all but 3 of those cards. So I like the way that they did this because it means that when you have that 3rd card tucked under her, that doesn't prevent you from tucking more cards under her. So you can go wild with tucking events under her and just basically grabbing whatever is available and then whittling that down, as you play. Like, you tucked one event from one person under there. It's not really what you were looking for, but it could still be useful. But then, somebody else plays a card, or that person plays a different card, and it turns out that's exactly the card that you were looking for, but you're at 3 cards tucked underneath her. That's not a big deal. So you tuck that 4th card underneath her, and then you discard, one of those cards. And it could be that card that it's like, nah, this isn't really what I wanted, so I just tucked it just in case. So I like the fact that she's got that freedom to basically tuck everything and then just kind of keep whittling it down until it gets to the cards that are going to be really useful to her, hopefully. I mean, you would hope that, especially if you're playing in multiplayer, that if other people are going to play a bunch of different event cards, that you're going to hit on something that is going to be useful for you at any given moment. It might be good to have a thwart card tucked underneath and an attack card tucked underneath. Maybe a defense card. But, like, giving yourself the ability to, we're about to go all out against the villain, but all I've got tucked underneath me is, like, a couple of thwart cards and a defense card. Well, people are starting to play all their big attack cards, so it's like, alright, so I'm going to steal that attack card, we'll get rid of the defense card, I'll steal that attack card, we'll get rid of one of these thwart cards. Like, the ability to finesse the cards tucked underneath her, I think is really awesome, and actually seems really thematic based off of her skill set, where, she's got the photographic reflexes, which we're gonna see that card soon, where she can just mimic what somebody else does. Kind of very Bruce Lee type thing going on. Let's get back to this. Whenever you or another player plays an aspect or basic event, you can tuck that event under Echo's identity card. Then you can later replay that event at a discount through the use of Echo's own signature event, Photographic Reflexes. Alright, so now we're looking at photographic reflexes. This event's kind of wild So it's got a star where the cost would be, and then in the text box it's star. If you're in hero form, you can discard photographic reflexes from your hand to play an event tucked under Echo as if it were in your hand. Reduce the cost to play that event by 2. You cannot trigger Echo's watch and learn ability for that event. Which makes sense. Like, thematically, it makes sense. Like, she can't copy something that she's doing right now. So I think thematically that really makes sense, and I like that they did that. I think it probably prevents some really crazy. I don't like using the term broken, but I guess broken combos that you could do where you're just like, you keep recurring the same event over and over and over again. Um, it definitely prevents that. One thing I do want to draw attention to is the numbering down here. So we've got Echo 2 of 15. So this is going to be card 2 of 15. And then if you look right here, it says 40A. So this is the numbering of her hero kit. We know she's got 15 cards in her hero kit, and this is card 2 of that. Of the box, it's card 40 of the box. I'm guessing? I don't know. I actually don't know. I think she might be counted before Daredevil. I don't really know exactly how they number the boxes, but what I do know is that the cards are always in order. So with this card being 40A, and that A is a little bit strange. Typically they would do that for two-sided cards, but this is definitely not going to be a two-sided card. So I'm guessing they're starting to, or maybe they have and I just haven't paid attention to it. Maybe they've been doing this for multiples of cards all along. But we'll see a card that almost definitely has a second copy, and it doesn't have a letter after the number. So I don't know. But for her deck, these cards are all going to be in order. So based off of both this number here and this number here. So we know for a fact that this is going to be the second card in her hero kit, and this is card 40A. And that will become important as we kind of start looking through these cards. Like here you see 37A for the hero side, 37B for her alter ego. So 38. Huh. That's weird. Because then that would make card 38. I'm going to jump ahead here. Alright, so Daredevil. Daredevil is card 39. And he's the first card in Echo's kit. So we're missing card 38. And I don't know what it could possibly be. Because normally if they have... Well, first of all, she's only got 15 cards in her kit. We've determined that by looking at this. Normally, if a hero has a permanent in their kit, that permanent doesn't count towards their deck size, and so their kit will actually have more than 15 cards. We've seen it with, let's see, Vision, Spectrum, who else? Man, I'm trying to think about who else. I know there are others. I've just like, for some reason, my brain has gone totally blank. But like those three, they have extra cards. Oh, Psylocke. I played with Psylocke at one point where she's got the two permanents that flip back and forth. Yeah, so however many cards they have as a permanent, that number of cards gets tacked onto the end of this number. So, yeah, I don't know what card 38 could possibly be. Huh. That is very confusing. Well, I'm going to move on from that because that's kind of a tangent we don't really need to go on right now. But anyway, yeah, we can see how kind of the numbering it'll help you to understand how I came up with the list that I came up with for what her deck looks like, and so how I highly suspect that she does not have any attack, thwart, or defense events. Alright, so we'll continue on with the article and we'll get to that in just a sec. This play, record, replay loop is crucial to Echo's entire game plan, as shown by the fact that she has 6 copies of Photographic Reflexes among her signature cards. That's the most copies of any one card in any hero's kit ever. That's a first. That's never been done before. We've seen, I think, 4 copies of a card in somebody's deck. Iceman has 6 copies of his his upgrade card, but that doesn't go into his deck. That actually sits out of play. So for a card that actually goes into the deck, 6 copies, that's crazy. With such a heavy emphasis on aspect and basic events, it's only natural that the rest of Echo's kit would help support this approach. For example, her other signature event, Study the Tape, helps Echo find the exact event she needs for the situation. Evil 40A to 40C. Okay, yeah, so they're... I probably should have looked at that before. So they're using... Huh. So what this tells me is that there's 3 different types of Photographic Reflexes cards in her deck. She's going to have 2 copies of A, 2 copies of B, and 2 copies of C. Almost guaranteed on that spread. I wonder if it's just that because it's so many of the same card in the deck, that they're changing just the art. Even if just the art changes, they would have to change the number on it. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Huh. But okay, moving on. So we'll come back to that. We see that Study the Tape is card number 41. All right. So it helps her find the exact event she needs for the situation. Let's take a look at this card. So it's a 0-cost event, tactic, action, search any player's discard pile for 1 aspect event, 1 basic event, or 1 copy of Photographic Reflexes, and add that card to your hand. And in her kit, that's card 8 of 15. So as far as her kit goes, with that being 8, that's going to be the first copy of that card. Because Daredevil is the first card in her kit. And the second card is a Photographic Reflexes card. So, see, we have the number 2 here. And we know there's 6 copies of that in this deck. So, from 2 to 7 is going to be Photographic Reflexes, from 40A to 40C. And then card 8 is where we get Study the Tape. I believe Study the Tape is going to have 2 copies because of the numbering when we get to this card, American Sign Language. So we'll read up to there. While the discount from Photographic Reflexes can help when paying for an event a second time, Echo's proficiency in American Sign Language and her fellow defender Daredevil can improve your efficiency even further. Alright, So let's look at photographic reflexes again. I don't think I read this. I did, I did read this card, but I wasn't really paying attention to myself. I'm sorry. So if you're in hero form, you can discard photographic reflexes from your hand to play an event tucked under Echo as if it were in your hand. Reduce the cost to play that event by 2. Right, because I went on this thing about Echo's watch and learn ability and not being able to pull those cards back. That was kind of one of the things I was really concentrated on when I read this card, but I guess I probably should have paid more attention to the fact that you reduce the cost to play that event by 2. So it's cheaper, which is nice. And I like how, like, thematically, this basically takes the place of the event that's tucked underneath you in your deck. So it's like that card is in your deck. This card is kind of the placeholder for it. That's kind of cool. I also really like how so far they've made this so that while I think it's going to be a lot more exciting to play Echo in multiplayer, she's still usable as a solo hero. Like, she can dive into her own discard pile and find an aspect card or a basic card and add it to her hand. Or, she can just play a card without using photographic reflexes and then tuck that underneath herself. So, kind of thematically wonky, but I mean, it makes her function as a solo hero. So I appreciate that they did that. But let's continue going and we'll look at this American Sign Language here. So it's a 2-cost upgraded. I like they've got her signing on the card. I don't know sign language, but I do know that is definitely a sign. Hero resource. Exhaust this card. Generate a wild resource for an event being played by any player. This is something I wish they would lean more into, is the ability to lend resources to other players. Because there's so many times that I've been playing a game where I've been like, I need one resource. I need just one resource. And somebody has it to spare, but they can't use it because that's not allowed in the game, and there hasn't really been a way to do that. This is one of those things that I'm really excited to see how well this can work with a team. So, yeah, I also really like kind of the coloring on this card. I think it looks pretty cool. Her face also actually looks pretty cool. I like with the white palm on the face. Though it's kind of giving off like the Saruman vibes from Lord of the Rings, which isn't necessarily the best thing, but that's okay. Alright, so moving on, and her fellow defender, Daredevil. Okay, we're going to properly look at Daredevil now. He's a 3-cost, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 1 consequential damage for each ally with 3 hit points. Both his attack and thwart have a star, and that star is response after Daredevil uses basic power. Reduce the cost of the next event you play this round by 1, which is just awesome. Man, I almost want to try Echo up against Strife now. Because I've played some games against Strife, well, a couple of games against Strife recently, and one of the things I don't particularly like about Strife is that he increases the cost of cards you play by 1. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I promise you, if you haven't played Strife, try playing against Strife and then tell me that doesn't completely destroy your hand. Even though you're getting +2 hand size, it just, for whatever reason, it feels really bad to have to spend that 1 extra resource every time you want to play a card. And so I would love to see how Echo fares against Strife, with the fact that she basically negates that when with her abilities, and when Daredevil is attacking or thwarting. Oh, that's gonna be an interesting game to try. I'll have to keep that in mind for the future. All right, moving on. Finally, her improvisation card 46 upgrade adds additional value to every attack, defense, and thwart event you play, giving Echo some extra flexibility with her actions. Since improvisation doesn't exhaust when it triggers, its extra effects can stack up pretty quickly when you play multiple events in a turn, something that Echo excels at. So let's look at improvisation. So it's a 3-cost upgrade. Hero response after you play an event. If it has the following traits: attack, you heal 1 damage from Echo. If it's defense, remove 1 threat from a scheme. And if it's a thwart, deal 1 damage to an enemy. And as the article pointed out, it doesn't exhaust. And this is super important, because then the more cards that you play, the more events that you play, the more these will add up, which is awesome. I really like when they do that. Though I imagine it's really hard to balance for, but this seems really awesome, and kind of plays into something that I'm going to point out after we get to the end of the article and just kind of start going back over kind of my impressions, and kind of like the little hints and stuff that we've got from the article. We're seeing 2 protection cards here, which I'm super excited about because I love protection. With her kit being so focused on aspect and basic events, Echo will want her deck to be chock full of them. Thankfully, her pre-built protection deck comes with plenty of tools that help build off her versatility. For starters, Army of One is a great card to tuck under Echo with Watch and Learn, giving you a nearly on-demand ready for the moment you need it most. So here we have Army of One. It's a 1-cost event with a star next to it. And in the text box, the star: increase the cost to play this card by 1 for each ally you control. Hero action: ready your hero. Let's see. And then we'll notice we have kind of the same thing going on here with In Harm's Way, which we'll talk about when we get to that part of the article. Events like Get Their Attention have fantastic synergy with improvisation due to having multiple traits, and they get even better when you use photographic reflexes to play them again. So Get Their Attention. It's a 2-cost event, Hero Interrupt. It's defense thwart traded. When an enemy initiates an attack, remove 3 threat from a scheme. So I like this. I always find it kind of weird when they defense trait something that isn't actually defending you against. Like, you're gonna take damage. You're gonna take all the damage. It's not defending against any of the damage, but it's still a defense, which is kind of strange. But yeah, I like this card. Protection has an issue with thwarting, like with threat control. It does not do that well. So this is definitely going to help. I'm interested to see the kinds of things that people can come up with using this card in their deck. Like, nothing is coming to mind personally for me, but I know there are other people who are looking at this card and they've got ideas. So I'll be interested to see what they come up with. Alright, so the next one, in similar fashion, In Harm's Way also has multiple traits along with an effect that scales to your current defense stat. Alright, so In Harm's Way, it's a 3-cost again with the star. event. Increase the cost to play this card by 1 for each ally you control. So we can tell right now that this is building a new archetype. This is building a I haven't watched anybody else's videos, but I did see Villain Theory had a new video up. Villain Theory, the guy who supposedly retired. I'm super excited. Like, I'm not upset at all that he's making videos. He seems genuinely really excited about this box, and so I'm gonna be interested to watch his video after I finish recording this. But anyway, on his thumbnail for the video, he did point out that this is a new archetype. This is introducing a new archetype, the Lone Wolf, or No Allies archetype, and that's a perfect description for it. This is introducing an archetype where you do not want allies. At best, you probably, I mean, you have to have if your hero has a signature ally, it has to be in the deck. It's part of their 15 hero cards. But as far as like bringing in other allies, you probably don't want to be bringing in any other allies if this is the kind of archetype that you're playing. Because these cards will cost so much more for every ally that you put out. I'm super interested to see how they make this more viable, because typically with protection, you kind of want allies to throw out in front of you every now and then, just, to chump block, to take some damage, to help with thwarting is actually one of the biggest reasons to have allies in protection, is actually to help with thwarting, because protection is so bad with threat control. Let's see, moving along. Since you can boost your defense stat with cards like Ronin, you're already getting a solid amount of value from a single card play, and that's without taking photographic reflexes into account. Alright, so before I click on Ronin, like, I've read the article, I've looked at all the cards. I'm going to tell you right now, I want this Ronin card for one of my Nightcrawler decks. Oh, it's going to be so good for one of those decks. So let's look at it. 1 cost upgrade. And it's a unique, so you can only have 1 copy in your deck, and there can only be 1 copy on the table. While you do not control any allies, your hero gets +1 defense and gains Retaliate 1. This is perfect for Nightcrawler. This is perfect for one of my protection Nightcrawler decks. I want this card so bad, and this art is... I love it. This is great. I am so looking forward to this card. Alright. Don't forget that you can also use Echo's abilities with basic events, and one of the best basic events she can use, and reuse, is her team-up event with Daredevil. See no evil, hear no evil. Alright, let's look at this card. 2 cost event, team-up. Attack and thwart. Choose 2 of the following. You may choose the same option twice. Deal 3 damage to an enemy, or remove 3 threat from a scheme. That's a really good team-up event. I see no reason why you wouldn't want to include this in your deck, especially if you're running a sidekick deck and you're going to have Daredevil out all the time, which you really should want to, because he doesn't have any when put into play things. His entire ability hinges on when he's using a basic power. So if you sidekick Daredevil and you're trying to keep him around for the entire game, there is no reason at all why in any deck build that you're doing, see no evil, hear no evil doesn't make it into your deck. This is just a good card, because you can either deal a combination of 3 damage and 3 threat, or 6 damage, or 6 threat. Like it's really good, and it's for a cost of 2. And I love the flexibility of the fact that you can actually split that up. So you can either take both or take 2 of one or 2 of the other. It the flexibility. I love cards that are flexible like this. And I think this is costed just right, actually. Like I'm not really one of those people who goes on and on and on about card costs or whatever, but I really think that this makes this card something that you like if you're going to be playing Echo, and especially if you're going to be playing a sidekick deck, this card should be in your deck. There's no reason it doesn't make it into the deck. Okay. With improvisation in play, this one card can heal 1 damage from Echo, deal up to 7 damage to enemies, 6 from the event plus 1 from improvisation, and or remove up to 6 threat from themes. Tuck it under Echo with Watch and Learn, then use Photographic Reflexes to do it all again. So good! With her unique play pattern letting her get multiple uses out of everyone's events, Echo is a versatile and flexible hero and a fantastic addition to any team. Keep an eye out for a preview of the other hero in this expansion, Daredevil, in the coming weeks, and look forward to the release of Fear No Evil in July. So, I mean, this is looking really, really good. Like, I'm super, super excited about Echo. And now well, I'm thinking about it, and like we've got the numbers of the cards in mind. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of editing while I'm talking about it as soon as I bring the screen up. But so I'm gonna show you what I have as far as what her deck list is going to look like. Alright, so here we have this. So I gotta change this. So this will be A, this should be B, this should be B, this should be C, and this should be C. Alright, so based off of the numbering that they showed us in the article, this is my best guess, and I think it's a pretty good one. It's pretty well informed as to what her deck is going to look like. So we know these are her kit numbers for the cards, and then these ones in the parentheses at the end, these are going to be the actual, like, the card numbers, like they showed us in the actual video, or not the video, the article. So anyway, these ones that have the star next to them, these are the ones we have not seen these cards. We don't, like, for Study the Tape, we haven't seen the second copy. I'm reasonably certain, like, I'm actually, I'm going to say I'm 100% certain that this is going to be a copy of Study the Tape based off of the numbering of the cards. This, I don't know that it's going to be a support, but based off of how FFG typically structures the hero decks when they put them together, this is almost certainly going to be a support. And then American Sign Language is starting the upgrades. So everything after American Sign Language is pretty much guaranteed to be an upgrade. So even though we haven't seen cards for her kit 12, 13, and 15, we know, or we can, with a reasonably high degree of accuracy, guess that these are going to be 3 upgrades. But yeah, so you'll notice, so we stop at 9 for the events. So cards 2 to 9 are going to be the events. She's only got 8 events in her entire kit, and she's a very event-focused hero. which means that when you're building her, you do not want to be adding a whole bunch of extra supports or upgrades. I am wondering what kind of resources they're going to be throwing into her deck, or if they're even going to be throwing resources into her deck because photographic reflexes reduces the cost of the events that you play using photographic reflexes. So I'm kind of wondering if the basic doubles are going to make it into this deck. The pre-gen or the pre-constructed deck. I don't know. Like I can't see them. I don't know. They might actually not include the doubles. That's going to be interesting to see if they do or not. But let's see. Let's go back to the article. And then I have a couple of notes here that I wanted to go over. So let's see. We've already talked about the fact that she has 6 copies of photographic reflexes, which is just insane. We've talked about the card numbering system and how, based off of that, she has no attack, thwart, or defense cards. We just mentioned that she has 8 event cards, but they're all one of only 2 different events. And then let's see, which are photographic reflexes and study the tape. And then, oh yeah, the new archetype, which, as I mentioned, I saw that Villain Theory had basically already called it as the lone wolf, or, no allies archetype. The lone wolf, I think, is the one that's gonna stick. As far as what I kind of expect to see with the cards that haven't been revealed yet, either that card that I'm pretty sure is going to be a support, or one of those 3 upgrades that we haven't seen. I'm going to call it that at least one of those cards is going to somehow boost the aspect or basic cards that you play. Here's why. Hero cards are generally considered to be better, like better versions of aspect cards, and aspect cards are typically better than basic cards. And I will actually show you what I mean by that. Alright, so we're going to open a new tab here, and we're going to go to Marvel CDB. Not the login, we want to look at the cards. Alright. So we're going to look at Captain America here, and we are going to look at his Heroic Strike. Alright. So Captain America's got this 3-cost event, Heroic Strike. It's a hero action. Deal 6 damage to an enemy. If you paid for this card using a physical resource, stun that enemy. Good card. Basic card for Captain America. I mean, it's just kind of a solid card. 3 for 6 damage isn't necessarily that great, but it also stuns the enemy if you paid for it using a physical resource. And it's really easy to hit that kicker with Captain America's kit because of... Where are you? This card here. Super Soldier Serum. He's got 2 of them in his deck. So... And they generate a physical resource. So super easy to hit the kicker for this card. So you're paying 3 for 6 damage and to stun the enemy. This is typically a card that you're going to throw at the villain. Especially in the earlier time, like when he came out, there were not many minions who were really big enough to justify hitting with a heroic strike unless you absolutely needed to. This was kind of one of those, I'm gonna hit the villain for 6 damage and then make sure he can't attack me next turn, is what this card basically was. Now, going back to my point, we're gonna look up another card here, Dropkick. It's 3 cost, it's an event, it's red, so it's an aggression card. Hero action, deal 4 damage to an enemy. If you paid for this card using only physical resources, stun that enemy and draw 1 card. So the only thing this really adds is that you draw 1 card. It's less damage, you're doing 4 instead of 6, and you have to pay for it only using physical resources, which, at a 3 cost, that is a little bit more difficult, especially with certain heroes where they don't have a very good distribution of the different types of resources in their decks. Nightcrawler being one. Nightcrawler has mostly energy resources. Wonder Man definitely has pretty much, not all, but mostly energy resources, even more than Nightcrawler does. There are just certain heroes that have more of one type of resource than another, which makes hitting the kicker for this a lot more difficult. But as you can see, with the difference between Dropkick and Heroic Strike, it's not that big. Heroic Strike is just, it does more damage, and it's easier to hit the kicker than with Dropkick. Another one that we can look at where we've seen something similar is with Thor, his card Defender of the Nine Realms. And then, let's see, what card was that? And the card Looking for Trouble. So, Defender of the Nine Realms is a 0-cost event. Hero action, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until you discard a minion. Put that minion into play engaged with you. Remove 3 threat from A scheme. That A scheme is very important. Looking for Trouble is a 0-cost event, aggression. Hero action, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until you discard a minion. Put that minion into play engaged with you. Remove 3 threat from the main scheme. So, Defender of the Nine Realms is a lot more flexible than Looking for Trouble. That seems like a really small difference, but as somebody who's been playing this game for a really long time, like since the beginning, since this game released, I can tell you that's a huge difference. That the fact that this can take from any scheme versus Looking for Trouble only able to take from the main scheme makes this card so much better than Looking for Trouble. So my point with looking at those or making those comparisons being that the fact that it's looking like Echo does not have any of her own attack or thwart events in her kit makes me think that at least one of the cards that we have not yet seen is going to give some sort of a boost to those cards that she plays. I don't know how. Improvisation does kind of already. But I really think at least one of the cards that we haven't yet seen is actually going to do more to boost those cards and give them more of a hero card type feel. Because hero cards, if they have a version in the aspect cards, the hero card is 99.9% of the time a better card than the aspect version is. just in some way. So I think that's why I think that we're gonna see at least one of her cards. At least one of those cards has to be something that gives her um like that when she plays those cards, it gives them some kind of a boost to make them feel like a hero card. Um, Beyond that, I don't know that I really have many thoughts. I didn't immediately start thinking of deck builds when I saw her, but mechanically speaking, she's really interesting, and I really can't wait to give her a try. Like, I think she's gonna be really fun to play. Sorry, my throat's getting a little dry. Um, yeah, I don't know that I necessarily have anything else to say about her or any of her cards. I mean, I think these new protection cards, this new archetype that they're setting up, looks really interesting and like something I really want to play. Um, I've been getting away from using quite as many allies in my decks recently. I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional with the way that I build my decks and making the decks feel more like you're playing the actual hero and not just like you're ordering around a bunch of allies. Um, Plus, with allies, I've always had this thing where it's like you pay to get the ally out, the ally does some stuff, and then the ally goes away. And I'm like, what did I just pay for? like, like I want to keep it around. Um, I don't know if that like I don't know if that hints at like hoarding tendencies or possible hoarding tendencies. I don't know. I'm definitely not a hoarder, but yeah, I don't know. It this archetype definitely speaks to me, and it's something that I really am glad to see them giving people the ability to kind of lean into. And I'll be interested to see what other types of cards that they'll come out with that kind of feed into that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun when we finally get the cards. Um, and yeah, I mean, as far as Echo is concerned, like she's a character I don't really have any connection to, but like mechanically speaking, she's piqued my interest, and I'm really looking forward to actually getting her on the table and trying her out and seeing what she can do, just based off of what we're seeing in this article. I'm not sure how long it's going to be until we're going to see Daredevil, and I kind of think FFG gave us Echo first because they knew that once they show us Daredevil, that's all anybody's going to want to talk about for a while. So, and rightfully so, man. They've been like Daredevil has been on like the list of heroes that it's like why haven't they been released yet for since very near the beginning of the game because Daredevil has been in so he's been in the pictures on so many cards. Like just the art on so many cards has featured Daredevil. So um a lot of people it's been kind of a running joke about never getting Daredevil. But now we actually are getting Daredevil, so I think we're all pretty excited about that. Um but yeah, like those were my thoughts on Echo. I don't know that anybody's necessarily going to want to hear them or even like if you've made it to the end of this video, I would actually be very surprised. But if you have, um, consider liking and subscribing. I'm not really doing this to build like a big following. This is more of like a hobby type thing and um, something to do because one of my friends mentioned that he'd missed the weekly streams that we used to watch, because we met in the comments of like when Peter at One Stop Co-op Shop used to play Marvel Champions on Friday nights a few years ago, and we've just kind of kept in touch ever since, and we'll occasionally play online. But he was saying that he missed those streams, and so I was like, well, I can. I've been thinking about streaming games just to stream them, not necessarily because I think anybody's gonna be interested in watching. I'm not a great player, like, but you know, this has been my favorite game since it released, and I am really looking forward to more content for it. And like, I wasn't even gonna make this video as I mentioned at the beginning, but man, Echo looks really good, and I'm super excited about this box. I didn't do a video about the box itself. I'm not going to go rehash that. A bunch of other people already have. But I can say that I'm really excited about the box. I didn't like I didn't like Civil War. Like, I will I will admit that I did not like the Civil War box. I liked the heroes, despite not really even knowing who they are as characters. Mechanically speaking, they're both interesting and they're both fun to play. I kind of lean more towards Tigra than Hulkling, but I mean, both well designed heroes, and I really enjoy them, but don't. I do not like the shoehorning of PvP into Marvel Champions. Um, which I guess, is turnabout is fair play for all the people who have, games that they love that feel like those games got co-op shoehorned into their competitive games. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like the PvP. I don't like the addition of all this new language that you then have to translate back to the co-op language. Um, I think that all of the modular sets felt very samey because they all have to be the same amount of cards, and so you get like one or two minions, maybe three, and like a couple of treacheries and a side scheme. Like, it's just, and they all feel like they do different things, but at the same time they feel like they're basically doing the same thing. And so I just don't find any joy in playing against any of them. Um, my biggest complaint being having to translate the language back to co-op, the native Marvel Champions co-op language. I don't like that. That I think is my biggest complaint with the Civil War boxes. That, and honestly, like the leaders, I don't know. I think the leaders could have been designed in a much more interesting way if it hadn't been for the fact that they were being designed for PvP. Um, that just, I think, really kind of hosed their design space. And typically I'm a big fan of Caleb's designs for the game, but yeah, I can honestly say that the Civil War box definitely was not for me. I don't like it. I'm glad that there are people who do. I'm glad that there are people who like PvP and that they're able to play Marvel Champions as a competitive game, but it's not going to be something I'm ever going to be interested in. However, one of the things that they did take from that and I think improved in this box is that modular main scheme, where instead of it being just the main scheme that's modular, like it was in Civil War, instead it's like the actual scenario itself. So it's the main scheme and the deck that goes with it. And really, it's the scenario is kind of the start, you're just putting in kind of a guest star by switching out the different villains. And I love that they ran with that. And now my cats are fighting. Um, but I love that they tweaked that so that it works in the Fear No Evil box. It makes sense. It's a street level crime box. And it makes sense that, every time that you want to play through it, you might want to switch the villains up. So, one time when you're chasing a villain down the street, it could be Electro. And the next time that you're chasing a villain down the street, it could be Bullseye. Or it could be Typhoid Mary or Purple Man or whoever. Like, I think it increases the replayability of the box a lot. And you can kind of see how it'll end up a little bit differently. So I'm really excited about the box coming out. I'm super excited to see the next article about Daredevil. Um, I'm still not super happy with the way that FFG has been kind of treating its customers as far as communication goes. They promised we'd see more updates. They actually said that at PAX in November last year. And then we didn't hear anything about Marvel Champions for months except for a release article for Wonder Man and Hercules when they came out in February, and a like 2-turn live stream where they just kind of showed 2 turns of how the heroes played against, I don't even remember who they were playing against, to be honest. But yeah, I'm a little bit irritated at FFG for the fact that they're not communicating anywhere near as much as I think they should be, particularly about anything that is not Star Wars Unlimited. And I will not go into that because I hate Star Wars. I'm at the point where I hate it as an IP, and I particularly hate Star Wars Unlimited. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm not gonna go any farther into it, or you're gonna get a big long rant from me about that. So anyway, I don't know when we'll be seeing the Daredevil article. I mean, they say in a few weeks, and it could be like it could be next week, or it could be over a month away. Um, yeah, they're really really bad at communication, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. And this has been a problem for a while. So anyway, yeah, I don't know if, like, what are your thoughts? Like, I want to know what other people are thinking about how this box is looking. What, if Echo looks like if she's interesting to play. Like, if you thought, well, I have absolutely no interest in her at all. I'm not going to play her at all. But now that you read the article, you're thinking, maybe I'll give her a try. Um, Let me know in the comments. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. I will be streaming on Wednesday. I still haven't decided what hero I'm gonna play as, or even what villain I'm gonna play against. So it's gonna be a surprise for all of us. um, anyway, take care, and I will see you guys next time.